Mr. Moody said, my name is Chris Bands, and my business is Delaware Craft Beer and Wine, which will be a small liquor store focusing on craft beer, but also fine wine and spirits located in Milford. A little bit about myself. As he said, I am a student here at Del Tech in the entrepreneurship program, and I'll be graduating in a couple weeks. I have only about a year of experience in the liquor business, but as a passion for me, I've been into craft beer for about 5 years now, and I've been in retail for almost 10 years. The craft beer industry is expanding extremely rapidly. I believe in 2014 it was a $16.3 billion industry, and there were over 4,000 craft breweries in the U.S. They were opening last year in 2014 at a rate of 1.5 per day. And the industry also has a market share of about 11% overall of all beer, whereas beer overall consumption has been falling. Craft beer has been going way up, and the Brewers Association expects it to almost double to about 20% market share by 2020 in the next 5 years. So about Delaware Craft Beer and Wine, we will be located in Milford. We'll be focusing primarily on craft beer. We expect to have over 300 varieties of craft beer, but also over 200 wines and a selection of some fine spirits such as small batch bourbons and single malt scotches. One of the big things that we plan to offer our customers is the ability to break up almost all the products we offer from the traditional 6-pack into single 12-ounce bottles, and that's great for the customer because it gives them convenience. A lot of craft beer people like to try as many different beers as possible. They don't always just drink the same thing all the time. And some of them don't want to spend, $8, $9, $10, $11 on a 6-pack of something they don't know if they're going to like. It's also better for us because we can get a higher profit margin on those single bottles. Another good thing about craft beer as opposed to traditional mass marketed beer is the profit margin is much higher. For craft beer, it's generally in the low to high 20s, whereas with something you say like Budweiser, it's maybe 4 to 10% if you're lucky. There's really just nothing there. And then also the profit margin is better on the wine, which can go upwards of 30, 40, 50, 60% profit margin, and the spirits are up there too. As far as marketing goes, we are planning to mostly market online and through word of mouth. The craft beer industry is very tight-knit, very tech-savvy, so we'll be using a lot of social media and, prompting people to review us on craft beer websites, be very active in the community in that way. Also going to try to be active in the local community, especially with Milford, support some local events and community organizations, things like that. And I believe one venue we might utilize for that is, I believe, in the early stages of 1 million cups, we had the website, Milford Live Present. We would probably do something with them and partner with other local businesses like Milford's own Mispillion River Brewing Company. As far as operations go, it would be just me running the business, probably with 1 or 2 other employees. At this point, it looks like just 1 full-time and 1 part-time employee. And one of the good things about it is that even though the initial startup costs are pretty high, after that, the main overhead is just inventory. And there's not a lot of overhead after that. So I'm hoping to, as Mr. Moody alluded to, I'm still in the conception stage, so anything I do is probably going to be a few years out at least, but based on my current numbers, I'm hoping to maybe break even in somewhere around a year in, and then have about maybe 14% growth year to year. We'll see where that goes. I think that's about it. Any questions?
Any questions? I'll come back to you.
Well, nice presentation, to say the least, being
Thank you.
still in school. I wasn't quite sure if you were going to have an on and off license. It sounded originally like you were going to be serving the open product in your store.
So we're going to start out just for off-premises consumption, which is, as you alluded to, is you have to get 2 whole separate licenses.
Right.
And one's for off-premises, which is like a liquor store, and one's for on-premises, which is like a restaurant or a bar. When we expand, we may look at possibly adding like a bar and an on-premises license, for people to try beers there, but starting out, we would just be off-premises. And one thing we would do though is, I don't know if anyone here is familiar with growlers. It's a big trend in craft beer right now.
Right.
It's basically a big 32 or 64 ounce glass bottle or jug that you fill straight from a tap, and then you cap it and you can take it home. So that would be something we would also do. That's become very popular recently, and there's very few places around here do it.
I think in Georgetown, I believe one of the package stores has a wine tasting. I'm not sure about that, but I believe so. And if that's allowed, then maybe you could have a beer tasting.
It is allowed. A lot of places do that. Where I work right now, we do wine and beer tastings, and that would be something we'd be doing
And
a
that's
lot of.
permissible under the
Yes, it is.
off sale. I guess
It
it's
is.
off sale.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You've got that figured out.
Thank you.
He stole my question, but Atlantic Liquors, I think it is, down at the beach, they have Thursday nights, ladies' night, and they have wine tasting, but they also have a couple different local restaurants bring appetizers, and they sort of blend whatever the wine is with the appetizer. If it's in the autumn, then they make it like pumpkin-based desserts and that kind of thing. Have you thought about, like, as far as marketing, partnering with other people, maybe somebody that makes fresh goat cheese and have like little wine tastings?
Definitely. As I mentioned, we're going to try to partner with some local businesses. If I do stay in the Milford location, definitely try to partner with Muskillian River Brewing up there. We will be hosting various events and sponsoring some other off-premises events. And as I said, doing some tastings and hoping to partner with as many other businesses as possible, because it's really, craft beer really ties in. It's not really its own put off to the side industry. It really ties in with bars and food and restaurants and all those kinds of things.
Also, your overhead, like in order to have these vats for your inventory and where you're going to store your inventory, do you have the building designed, the layout? Have you leased the building?
We're just a package store. So,
But where are you going to make it?
but we're not making anything.
Okay,
We're just a package store. We're on the retail end.
okay.
And as far as that goes, there would probably be I would probably have to make some improvements to the building, mainly with coolers, and those can be quite expensive, which is also part of the high startup cost, because I believe I'd probably be going with 2 of them, so probably spend somewhere around $15,000, $20,000 just for those 2 improvements. And the space I'm looking at right now in Milford, it's on Milford Harrington Highway, just off of US 13. It's a 2,050-foot space, so a fairly small space. But where I work now, at R&L Liquors in Lewis, we cram a lot in there, so I don't think would have a problem fitting too much in there.
Where's the beer coming from? I was under the assumption that you're actually going to be making these.
No, so basically in Delaware and most of the places around the country, it's a three-tier system where there's the manufacturers, which is the brewers, the distributors, which I believe we have 4 or 5 of in Delaware, and the bottom is the retailers. We would get everything from the various distributors in Delaware.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. I'm a novice for alcohol. My strongest drink is Pepsi on the rocks. So the key thing that came to my attention was the word craft. What is craft beer?
Basically, well, there is a specific way that it's defined by the Brewers Association, which is the industry group for that. But to define it a little more loosely, it is smaller companies that focus on traditional and innovative brewing techniques and focus on basically quality over quantity and are very community-oriented, like a lot of the local breweries you see around here, and it's basically a focus on quality ingredients, quality products, versus something mass-produced like Budweiser, yeah.
Did I understand you're working now with R&L?
Yes.
So R&L downtown Lewis, correct? And I'm associated with Teller, so we...
Okay.
Okay. So we've got some good examples within the Lewis area of what you're trying to accomplish ultimately in Milford, if I understand correctly, right? And I also share the concerns about the inventory, and in particular the storage that is associated with the inventory. I'm also concerned about turns, because I can see firsthand, and you can too, obviously,
Yes.
that some of the single barrel is some of the highest priced stock within your inventory, and it's also some of the slowest
moving,
turns
yes.
that you're going to have. So you have to be very careful about that composition, in my opinion, of the inventory. But getting back to you've been at retailing for 10 years, did I hear you say?
Yep, just about 10, yeah, in different areas. Grocery, my family used to run an antique shop, so I worked there, and now at R&L, a few different places.
Well, you've already experienced the essence, obviously, of retailing, and that's customer service.
And customer service is going to be a big focus for us, whereas, with you say you have like one of the big box stores like Atlantic Liquors, that's basically a giant warehouse where there's not so much of a focus on customer service. That's going to be a major thing for us. And getting back to the inventory thing for a second, as you said, the higher priced items such as the fine wines, the single malt scotches, they move slower. Those we wouldn't keep a lot of in stock because, as you said, time is money, and we want to have quick turnover. We don't want to be sitting on too much inventory. We also wouldn't want to try to sit on too much beer for a different reason, and that is because a lot of the lower alcohol beers, and especially the India Pale Ales and things of that nature, people
Right.
want really fresh.
Right.
Most of the beer is meant to be consumed fresh, and people really don't like it when I know, I'm not going to name any names, but you go to some places around here and you look at the date on the bottle, and it's been sitting there for a year, 2, 3 years.
Yeah,
So
right. You
So we would-
definitely,
we would keep
got,
ordering on a week-to-week basis and just get what we need, rather than probably try to take advantage of, bulk ordering discounts when we could for things like wine, but try to keep the inventory.
well,
smaller.
I also think that you're at the right place at the right time with your thoughts on beer, in particular craft beers, because the wine distributors have been doing it for years as far as having the wine tastings. And now if you can get into the beer tastings and the beer matching with the food, I also like that idea. It's another way of actually allowing the customer at least some insight into the purchase that they're planning for. So,
Absolutely, and that goes back to the thing I said about we're going to sell all single bottles as well. People really like to try different things. One thing I meant to mention, the reason I'm located in Milford is because, one, It's a little cheaper to get a commercial lease there than, say, the beaches, but also the market is very saturated. If you go north up to, say, Dover or down to the beaches, there's a lot of liquor stores. A lot of them have a good selection of craft beer, but in the Milford area, kind of in between there, northern Sussex, southern Kent County, Milford and Harrington, and that whole area, there's really not many stores, and the ones that are there do not have a very good selection of craft beer.
That's a very, very strong point in your favor, in my opinion.
Any other questions? Any questions from any of the students? No questions? Mr. Ross has a question.
Could you share with us some of the regulations that you face being in that industry?
Okay, so regulations, there's quite a few, as I'm sure everyone can imagine. In Delaware, I think I'm pretty lucky in that it's pretty easy to get started in Delaware, as far as paperwork and fees and that kind of thing. I know in some places it's almost impossible to start a liquor store. You're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars just for a license. Here it's a little bit better. As far as regulations go, obviously the times when you can sell are restricted. Obviously we can't sell anything unless we have a special permit off premises. Obviously we can't, do anything, any kind of mail order, things like that, which, well, actually, I should mention that because that would be one potential place for expansion, because Delaware currently does not allow that, but some states do. And there's no federal law governing that, so if I get the law changed, that would be something I would look at expanding to the states that do allow shipping alcohol. Then, of course, there's strict regulations about the age of customers. Obviously, 21 is the drinking age, but you're in Delaware, you're actually not even allowed to enter a liquor store unless you're over 21, or I think it's under 12. There's various regulations for the economics of it. I know in Massachusetts recently, a couple of places got in trouble because the distributors were paying them and giving them incentives to stock certain beers. You're not allowed to do that. There's only specific hours you can operate in. You can't be located within a certain distance of schools or, I think, churches, some other places like that. There's a variety of rules that are obviously very strictly enforced, and but I don't think that's going to be any problem for me.
Chris, what can we do as a community to support you and help you grow?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm still in the conception stage, but just, really just check out craft beer. I know a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't like beer. There's so many different kinds. I think there's almost something for everyone that tastes way different from, like a Budweiser. Just go out, go to some of the local restaurants and the stores and have dinner, try it out. And come check me out. Hopefully I'll be back then to present again when I launch.